I am resident of Collinwood YouTube, Joel Sands. I am joined by my buddy Bobby Lugosi. We're here to give the rest of our Dark Shadows top 5 list. So we're down to our final 3 each. Bobby, what's the next one on your list?
Number 3 is episode 280.
Oh. Talk to me. What's your favorite thing about it? What are the things you love most?
I love this idea. For those who don't remember, this is the one where Barnabas has a party at the old house, and all the Collins family members come dressed as an ancestor, and then they have a seance. And I love the idea of it. Like it's such a neat idea that they're dressed up as their ancestors, and it kind of, looking back on it now, it almost feels like, remember the opening scenes in The Wizard of Oz when they're in Kansas, and everyone kind of like cleverly alludes to who they're going to be when they get to Oz.
Yeah.
Like how they say, like how Ray Bolger says something like, "You act like you haven't got any brains at all," and stuff like that. It kind of like it like alludes to that, like who they're gonna be when it comes up. And I love how they do, like how Roger instigates the seance.
Yeah, he does. He actually by the end of it too, he's sort of making fun of it too. Like,
yeah,
he's like going up the steps, making fun of the whole thing. This is like the most delightful we've seen Roger. It's like, this is the Roger Collins we wish we would have got at the beginning of the series, right?
Oh, he's a ball in this episode. I love it. I love it when he says, "Yes, I think we should have a seance. It won't harm us, and it might be fun." And I think Liz says something like, "Oh, Roger, really? Oh, Liz, you'll love it once you get in the swing of it."
Now we don't. Now the one thing we don't have for this episode, we do have Burt Devlin, but it's not Mitch Ryan. There's a different actor playing it, which I don't mind the new actor's performance. I love how he comes dressed as Jeremiah, and Barnabas gives him the stink eye.
Yeah.
What did you think of that, Bobby?
Oh my gosh! That's one of the things I love about this episode is it's so clear that Barnabas does not like him, and yet, but they're like, it's like it's clear what's going on, but I love how they're covering it up, like how, like Vicky says, doesn't he look handsome in his outfit? And Barnabas says, yes.
You know what sells this too is the fact that there's no Will. I don't think there's a Will. I don't think Willie's in this episode.
He's in the beginning. He's
sorry. He's in the beginning, but he never he doesn't like sit for the seance. He's not invited to it. Like he did all this work for this house. And we're like, nah, you don't get to come to the party. It's like, son of a bitch. Like, Barnabas is like the taskmaster boss of the century, right?
Right, yeah.
I do love how they're in costume doing the seance. What did you think, Bobby?
Oh my, I love it. It gives this episode like so much style.
Yeah.
You know, and it's interesting too, because later on we'll get them in costumes, but they're playing different characters. Yeah. I love seeing Roger in costume and Elizabeth in costume, because they bring their kind of like their modern character sensibilities, but they still just look like fabulous in these costumes. Elizabeth, in that dress, she reminds me of Glinda in The Wizard of Oz. She looks like a queen, you know.
You know, Dark Shadows is eventually going to go to color. Here, this episode's in black and white, and I think that's what this episode would not do justice in color. It's best in black and white, I think. What do you think?
I agree too. It's the old house feels more haunting. The costumes come off as more stylish. Yeah. You know, it has a very old Hollywood feel to it.
Yeah. And it comes across to the house, though done up, Willie has done this job restoring this home, that the costumes, the mood of it, it feels like something's going to happen.
Yeah.
And something does.
Yeah, yeah.
They do receive a visitor. Young Sarah Collins at the top of the stairs. Now we do get a seance visit, I think. What did you think of Victoria Winters going up, looking up, and we see Sharon Lynn's looking down as the little girl goes? What did you think?
I love it. I love how it's Vicky.
Yeah.
You know, because she's seen Josette. She's had like interactions with ghosts, and and that's, I mean, at the beginning of the series, at least, that's the character that we're like relating to.
Yeah.
You know, she's she started out as the main character. You know, so it's the perfect one to see it, and I love how it's like so subtle. Just a little girl in her dress. You know, it's not a big monster. It's something very subtle. Something like when you hear real anecdotes about people seeing ghosts, that's like something that would happen.
And it's really creepy how it's done too. Like her looking up and no one else sees this little girl but her. And that, you know, considering they had this seance, and it's like, oh shit.
Right, yeah.
It's like, Jesus Christ. And that's why Roger's jokes top it all off too.
Right, yeah.
It's like you get this full effect. You talked about the costumes, the fact that they get to use these costumes later on as those characters. Because Roger's dressed as Joshua, Elizabeth's dressed as Naomi. We don't get David in this seance. So David Collins is not in the seance, but we don't. It's a really good episode. We do get Burke dressed as Jeremiah, which I like.
Carolyn is dressed as Millicent.
Yeah, Carolyn is dressed as Millicent. It's a really good seance scene too in the old house, because the last seance we got in the old house was in the Phoenix arc. Sam Evans. Oh my God, what a seance that was! But this here, I'm with you. I love how they do this costume party. Right? It's so innocent. It's the most innocent thing. And then, well, some ghost Davis. Oh my God!
And it's kind of the dressing up as your ancestors' party is like it's become a Dark Shadows thing, because they do it. They don't have the seance with it, but they do it in House of Dark Shadows. Remember, everyone's in costume for the costume party scene. And then in the 1991 series, they do like they do it again, where they're dressed in costume and then you're playing with the Ouija board.
Yeah. It's really cool though. I love this episode you picked, because it's an episode that is all the episodes of DS we all enjoy, but this here it gives that, though we saw Collinwood as a haunted house because it was ruined down, it was full of cobwebs. David hung out there as a kid. David hung out there because he loved talking to ghosts. And even though it's been restored, you get that haunted feel right back in this episode.
Right. It still feels like a haunted house.
Yeah. Great pick. Thank
you.
Great opening pick. I love it. I'm gonna save my other pick. I'm going to pick my other. Old. Episode 798, which is 1897. You have Count Patofi, who hasn't been revealed as Count Patofi yet. He's still Finn Givens. But Quentin discovers that Aristide somehow knows that Ben Givens, and he gets him in this chokehold. So how do you know Aristide? And he's threatening them and stuff. And I love that. I also, one of the most powerful things in this episode, that the reason I chose it, because Quentin, up until this point, we know what kind of man he's been. He's been this womanizing party. Listen, there are fictional characters that have had many women in their lives. James Bond, okay, and Quentin Collins. And you could literally switch that. But in fact, there's a line in 1897 where I think it's Pansy Fair / Charity Trask who tells Quentin, you're going to town to see one of your sluts. It's not in this episode, but it's in a 1997 episode. But in this episode, you get one of the most devastating things. One of Quentin's son has died. And it's one of the most powerful episodes in DS history. Because here's this, if he thought being a werewolf was hell, he didn't even know he had kids or that his kids were alive. And yet to now find out only one lives and his son died is one of the most heartbreaking things. I love this episode because it gives that, if you feel sorry for Quentin because he's led this party lifestyle, and this episode really brings Quentin crashing down to earth in every way. And David Selby deserved a fucking Oscar for the way he did this.
That was amazing.
It's a fun episode before the heartbreak because they're building toward something's happening again, and you find out, well, David Selby's character's Quentin Collins, one of the kids died, and he's so heartbroken. You know, he finds out in this episode, and Magda's heartbroken. Because she put the curse on Quentin. She feels just as responsible. Hell, she does. She feels very responsible in every way. Sandor gets killed in this episode, by the way. Sandor gets a knife in the back. He dies in this episode. It's
a
heavy
one.
Yeah, it's a heavy episode.
Yeah.
And it's one of my favorite episodes of DS. What's your next one, sir?
Episode 1061. This is the first episode when they're in 1995.
Nice.
I know last week when you were talking about it.
I know I picked the 1995 episode. Talk to me about, because you're right, they come to 1995 and see Collinwood has been destroyed. Talk to me about it.
This is one I had been waiting to see for like years when I finally got to see it. Because the first time I ever saw Dark Shadows was when I was a little homesick from school. But I didn't really start watching it till it came out on DVD. And I was watching the DVDs, and then in the mornings before school, I would watch the episodes on TV. So I was watching when Barnabas first comes on, at the same time that I was watching 1970 Collinwood, when they're talking about the destruction of Collinwood, and they talk about going to the past, to the present, to the future, 1995. So like from the moment I started watching, I knew that they went to that year. I knew that they went to the future. So I was like waiting for years for this, and it was amazing. First of all, the set is incredible. Like, you have never seen Collinwood like this. You know, it's in complete shambles, and amazing to think that Cy Tomashoff and his team did this over the weekend.
Yeah.
Because for those who don't know, like Dark Shadows, it was a Monday through Friday soap opera, so they had to film a regular episode on that Friday, reconfigure the set, and then Monday start the new storyline up.
Yeah, this is all done on one soundstage, I think. Yeah.
So I love how it's very Barnabas and Julia centered. How it's like the story is at its most like frightening frightening turn, where you have no idea what's going on. Where is everybody? But it also feels like their relationship is at the most dramatic turn too. Where it's Barnabas is lamenting the loss of Roxanne, and Julia's like heart is breaking too because she loves him so much. So it's like their relationship is gone through so much, and the house has gone through so much, and they've gone through so much together.
Yeah, it's a great episode too because they're not sure what happened. Right, they don't know like where, like they know they're in Collinwood. Like where are like what year? And then they see some of the tombstones.
Right. Yeah.
It's like we're in the year 1995.
Right, yeah.
It's the shock of the year. It's the look of the house. You're right. It's everything because 1995 is my favorite arc. I call it the 9 episodes of terror because that's
Right,
what
yeah.
it is. It's that good. Um, I'm with you all the way on this. The set looks beautifully demolished. We'll say.
Yeah. Oh my god! Even like the still slide of Collinwood that they use in the beginning, and
Yeah.
even that, it looks more haunting than normal.
Yeah. It still gives that haunted house feel, though it's wrecked,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It feels like, did ghosts do this? What did, like, because you're asking yourself, like,
What
even
happened?
if you've watched it one time, it's just like, oh my God.
Yeah, you're in shock right along with Barnabas and Julia.
Oh, absolutely.
Because like the house, that's been like, it's kind of been like the mainstay of the whole series.
Yeah.
Characters have come and gone, but the house, that was like the first, like even in the first episode, the suspense of it is like Vicky going towards that house, going towards Collinwood.
Yeah.
And this is Collinwood. It's like visually it's most frightening, the biggest mystery of all. What happened here? So I feel it's like you said, it's like 9 episodes of terror.
And we don't, I think, if memory serves me, I think does Mrs. Johnson appear in this episode, if I'm right?
Yeah, she does. Yeah.
Yeah, she appears. I love how she looks so old, how Clarice Blackburn. Here's Mrs. Johnson, a woman who was made of iron, and she looks defeated. He looks defeated.
Yeah.
That's the theme of 1995. Not only has Collinwood been destroyed, but the souls and spirits of a lot of the characters.
Yeah, characters have been. We don't see them in this episode, but Carolyn has gone insane. Professor Stokes is living in terror. So in Mrs. Johnson, like you said, that she's made of iron. She's always, she's the practical one. She's been the sensible one this whole series, and to just see her terrified.
Yeah, and she gives the Barnabas and Julia a hint about somebody's living at a house, and Barnabas and Julia go there. That's how this episode ends on a great cliffhanger because then they go to the house. They don't have long to find out who it's going to be because you see the doorknob turn, and that's how the episode ends.
Right? Yeah.
What did you think of the cliffhanger?
I loved it. Because I was wondering who on earth is it going to be.
Yeah.
I had no idea, and it was, as I said, I came to know the show from DVD. This was the last episode on volume 221, so I had to wait for volume 222 to find out what happened, who it was.
It's that suspense that drives us all, right?
Right? Yeah.
Give me the goddamn next episode.
Right? Yeah.
Even though we've seen it, give it to me.
I hadn't seen it yet. I literally had no idea who this was gonna be.
You haven't seen the next episode yet, though?
No, when I first saw it, I had it on DVD because they released the DVDs like in 2 months, like it was like 2 months apart. I think. Okay. So I had to wait like 2 months from that to find out who it was.
And the fact that it's an aged Carolyn by the next episode is still shocking.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And they do all the old age makeups really, really well.
Oh yeah, yeah they do. I love how aged all the characters looked in 1995. Mrs. Johnson everybody looked fabulous, old and creepy, and they looked defeated.
Yeah.
Great episode pick. Great episode pick. My next one, we have technically our second ghost appearance, but it's the first ghost appearance of Josette. It's episode 70. And I love this episode for a lot of reasons. Obviously, there's a climactic one. This is the first episode where David is the kindest, sweetest kid you could ever have. You know it's not going to last. Because he's going to end up locking her in the West Wing. Not in this episode, but I love how he's like, I want to show you the old house. I want to show you. And she's willing to go for it. Mickey's like, I'll do it. Yeah. I'm up for it. I got She, and and really what leads up to this, and this is something I'm going to talk about when I get to go back and do re-70 on what I've been going through the episodes from the beginning on my channel, is that the reason I think Vicky is so willing is because she saw a ghost at Collinwood and is wondering, well, did I really see a ghost in the drawing room? She's wondering herself because she talks to Maggie in an episode. She goes, I'm not sure what I saw. She's wondering. And I think that's why she goes with David. She's curious. Now, she doesn't see nothing. Our buddy Thayer David is in this episode. He's Matthew Morgan by this time. He's been in for a while. But I really love how Thayer David, it's like, I told you to stay away from here. You can't tell me what you can't force. I can warn you though. It's like Matthew Morgan doesn't want David to get hurt. It's like the house is so old. And what brings this episode home to perfection too is the way they bring Josette's ghost out of the portrait office. I showed this to a friend of mine, Ryan Bowers, who does paranormal stuff on his channel. He covers paranormal. And he goes, Dan, that looks like a real ghost. And he's never seen Dark Shadows before in his life. So he's like, that's fucking cool. And I was like, I know, right? So I love the way they do Josette coming out of that portrait, walking and then dancing around the old house. Because we get a mix of, in this episode, and my favorite thing is we get a mix of set and on location, because she's literally on location at the old house before it burned down, dancing around. Great camera work, obviously, great effects. But I do really love how, because I love how when they do, I think that's something we do lose a bit once I do agree with my buddy Gordon Demowski. We lose a bit of atmosphere when we get away from all this, when we go to just sets. I love the sets, but I love when we get a mix of sets and on location.
I agree. It makes it feel bigger.
Yeah.
You get like a sense of like how big the estate is. Absolutely. And you feel like you're more, and it's more haunting, really, because you're like for that episode particularly, you're outside, like. So yeah, I wonderful pick, really. It's man, I'm just thinking back when I first saw Josette walking around, like, and then like you don't, especially if you're watching it like where you've seen all the Barnabas episodes like first. I feel it's like shocking to see the ghost of Josette walking around, like on the real like locations.
So we're down to our last ones each. Bobby, what's your last one, man?
Episode 290. It's when it begins with Julia going and seeing Barnabas in his coffin, nice. And it's confirmed that he's a vampire. And then they set up a meeting, and Barnabas goes into her room to try to kill her, and Julia comes out from the corner and says, I've been waiting for you for a long time, a very long time.
We're going to learn too, Julia says there are other cases like yours, I believe. What did you think of that line?
I thought that line was so fascinating. I have to say, her backstory is, I think, one of the most interesting things to me that they didn't really cover. Yeah. Like when Laura Parker was writing her Dark Shadows books, I wish that she had done the Julia Hoffman backstory, because that really made me like fascinated. Like, what has she learned before coming to Collinwood?
Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing that. Like, what did she know? Like, because we don't hear names with that. Yeah. But I love the tease of that. Like, okay, there's other cases similar to Barnabas, or like Barnabas, and she she initially does this because she wants to be famous. She wants to get her name out there
Right.
because she cured this man with vampirism, But she ends up falling in love, obviously, not in this episode, but with Barnabas himself, which I love. I love how they get that, eventual. She's in love with him. She's fallen in love with the person she's treating, um, which is great. But I'm with you. I love this episode that you picked here because she went in with a plan there.
Yeah.
That's she went in. You know what? I'm not going to be afraid because I'm going to offer him the one thing no one has: a cure or a treatment.
Yeah.
And I love what he says. He says, medicine can't cure me. She goes, well, maybe not in the medicine where you were from, but modern medicine has advanced where, I could probably cure you. And I could treat you. And this is the first real hope of Barnabas that we have.
Yeah.
2 questions. What did you think of the hope? Because later, Barnabas is like plotting in between thinking about a cure and plotting to kill Julie at times. So, first question, what did you think about the potential of the hope for a cure?
I thought that was fascinating. I remember the first time I watched it, I was in shock that was the direction they were going.
Yeah.
Because I remember this was one of the pivotal episodes I watched. Like I remember my experience watching it for the first time, and when they talk about a cure, I was like, wow, what's going to happen? So it made Julia Hoffman seem like a character unlike anything I had ever seen. I had already sort of felt that because when she first comes on, she's kind of like they kind of set her up as like a Professor Van Helsing, but she right away she's different than Van Helsing. The way she go ahead.
Yeah, I think when I first saw her, I hear what you're saying about Van Helsing. I looked at her like very strangely because she was keeping everybody away. She was more for her. I learned real quick. This woman's about herself. Sure, she's protecting Maggie to a degree, but she's about herself.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like, damn, that's something.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I remember in like in the first episode she's on, when she lets Sam and Joe in to see Maggie, just so that they'll stay away afterwards.
Yep.
He doesn't really care what it's gonna do. It's just this way they'll stay away and I'll be done with them.
Well, she warns against it. Like no, this is just, and she like throws it in Dr. Woodard's face too. Like, I told you.
Yeah.
Like, damn, girl. But I'm with you. This episode's really good. Number 2, my number 2 question. What did Barnabas plotting do? Because not in this episode that you picked, but while she's trying to work on cure, he's plotting. He's telling Loomis, I might kill her. What did you think of that?
I love it. I because what else would Barnabas do?
Right.
Like that honestly, it would have him going right away to, oh, she's gonna save me. That wouldn't have felt right for his character. This is he hasn't survived this long by trusting people.
Yep.
So I love that his instinct is not to trust her on it.
Yeah.
It's like he's conflicted. It's like he doesn't want to trust her because he feels that could lead to his downfall, but he wants to trust her at the same time because that would mean he'd be human again. So I love the conflict with that.
Right. One of the greatest things about the character is the constant confliction.
Yeah.
I'm with you all the way. Great final pick.
Oh, thank you. Oh, I've got to say my favorite part of this episode.
Go ahead.
Because this is what I love about Julia. How I said she's like a Van Helsing, but Grayson Hall is so much more fun than Edward Van Sloan. like she is a ball. Like when she's like talking with Dr. Woodard, and Dr. Woodard says, "I'm through arguing with you, but I'm not through arguing with you." And then the scene that she has with Barnabas. This is my favorite. I love this part. Is when they're setting up the appointment of when they're going to meet to talk about the Collins family history. And Julia says, "How about tomorrow morning?"
Yeah.
I'm afraid that would be convenient. Oh, well, how about tomorrow afternoon? I won't be available until the evening. Oh, yes, I understand completely.
The one now there's a scene that I love most with Julia. I don't think it's in this episode, but the episode where she comes to the old house and she just lights her cigarette on the candle, bro. like you talk about badass, a badass.
Oh, this was so great. And I love that about Grace. She's got like so much like style, like in personality.
That was a little. It's like, can I take you with me, please? Like, seriously. Like, Jesus Christ, lady. But great pick. Great pick. My final pick is a simplistic one. It's 212. It's the episode after Barnabas comes out of the coffin and he's in the house, talks to Elizabeth. My favorite, because he talks to Victoria as well, and Barnabas says, "It's always as I remembered it." And she's like, "As you remembered it?" Oh, I saw pictures, I saw drawings and letters, and we lost community. He also says that they lost communication over the years of time. He has the perfect fucking cover story in this episode. If you want to get a cover story off somebody, phone up Barnabas. Or sorry, go visit him. He might not have a phone, but he's got the best cover story. I'm your cousin from England. Okay. And he got all this information from Willie, which is great.
Yeah. Learning the portrait of me still hangs in the foyer. Perfect. Yeah. This will prove I'm a Collins.
I love how he flirts. I love how he flirts with Victoria. She goes, "Do you let them call you Vicky when your name is Victoria?"
Yeah.
But we're not really formal with one another. Oh, but I can never surrender a syllable of it, Miss Victoria Winters. And he just when he excuses himself and lets himself out. And they say about how he's almost so courtly. That's how a true Collins should be, Elizabeth says. And David's at the old house playing. Now, I love the interaction between David because they're talking about the sunrise and stuff. And he thinks Barnabas is a ghost. And he explains how Barnabas says, "Oh, would you be so calm if I really were?" "Yeah, I talk to ghosts all the time. The ghost I talk to is Josette. If you remember the Collins, she would help you." My favorite thing about this is the ending, because this proves Barnabas was always meant to be sympathetic to me. He's talking to the ghost. We know Josette knew the Phoenix. We know she knew Laura. This is the second person now Josette knows is Barnabas. And he tells her, where were you? I was at Collins. Where were you when I was turned to something my own father loved? His ghost is here with yours. Tell him I've come home. I am free now and alive. The chains of which he bound me with are broken. And I'm here to live the life I never had. He's hurt. And we learned in 1795 why he's hurt and why he feels the way he felt in 212. You don't get that in this episode. But the fact that he talks to Josette's portrait, he's not angry, he's hurt. Lets you show this is a different kind of vampire entirely. Obviously, I give credit to the writers, but Jonathan Fritz sold his ass off.
Oh my gosh, yes. He was, as you were saying this, by coincidence, Dracula was on MeTV tonight.
And I know, I saw your post. I like
it. This has been a Dracula kind of night. And you never you never hear what Dracula's actually thinking.
Yeah.
You know, where so he remains a haunting figure. Barnabas, he's a haunting figure, but you get inside his head. This
Yeah.
is you're hearing, he's saying it out loud, but because he's talking to the portrait, but you're hearing he's by himself. You're hearing his feelings, and this is the first time you're just hearing a vampire's feelings, pure and simple, not talking to anyone, just hearing their thoughts. So I agree. He was always meant to be sympathetic because you're connecting with him. You're sympathizing with him as he's giving the speech.
Yeah, you really are. It's that too, that like you just said, that when he says about the sunrise, David picks up, he tells them back at the house, he tells everybody, it's like he was missing something he missed maybe from his childhood.
Yeah.
Or I was talking about it. And David says to him, I was talking about a sunrise. He tells Barnabas that. And it's like you could tell, like there's a lot of heartbreak with Barnabas.
Yeah, even David picks up on it, and he doesn't know the full thing, but he gets the general idea that it's something that he missed and will never get back.
Yeah, one of the favorite things when they're talking about Barnabas and they're zooming in on the portrait and they cut to Jonathan Fritz standing in the house is an amazing cut scene. Is an amazing cut back to Jonathan in the old house. The episodes we both picked were fun. They're great episodes. Bobby picked great episodes. Go watch the episodes we picked. They are amazing to watch, and they're fun. And you know what? You're going to thank us. No, you're going to have a good time. But if you thank us, we'll appreciate it.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like ours kind of are like the best of the series because we have like earlier ones like episode 70 like you picked, but then we have we have 2 episodes in 1995, so we have episodes from 1897 to focus on Quentin. We have ones on Barnabas. Like I feel like we have a good list.
Guys, message Bobby or me. Tell us your top 5 or tell us some of your favorite episodes. We'd love to hear from you. Bobby's on Facebook. Bobby Lugosi. He's also on. You're on TikTok too.
Yeah, TikTok too. Yeah, I have the big 3. I have the big 4. I have Facebook, Bobby Lugosi, and YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram is Lugosi Theater.
Yeah, follow me on Instagram. So message Bobby on Instagram, TikTok, or Facebook. Now you can get me on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, or X. Sorry, X. God damn it. I'm never going to get used to these name changes ever in my life. But you can get me on any of those. I'm at Colin Woodub on Twitter. If you want to come give me a follow or come chat with me on Twitter, on X. Sorry, God. Facebook, I'm Jewel T. Saints. Links to Lugosi Theater is going to be in the description box. Yeah, go hit Bobby up on Facebook. Let me hit me up on Facebook as well. Let us know some of your favorite episodes. Bobby, my friend, this was a lot of fun.
It was. I loved it.
Bobby, my friend, enjoy the rest of your weekend and take care, buddy.
You too. You have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.